Good evening, all. So I'm back with another training module called Robot Framework with Python training. So yeah, what is Robot Framework and what is Python? Robot Framework is a framework that is built by using the Python. So you may ask me like, what is the need of Robot Framework when we have Python, right? So Robot Framework makes everything easy for us to communicate to the GUI, UI testing, Selenium testing, as well as any device testing, and it has a lot of built-in libraries that help us to communicate with the GUI or to connect to any other devices. We'll have a lot of things to be discussed in the coming slides. About trainer, that's me. So overall, I have 6 years of experience in software industry, to be specific in automation domain. And yeah, in these 6 years, I worked for different clients like Kone Elevator, Cisco, Palo Alto, Extreme Networks, right? So I have the experience on both the UI automation as well as CLI automation using Python, Robot Framework, Selenium, shell scripting, right? And you can see here all C languages and real-time integration tools like GitHub, Jira, Jenkins, right? And apart from that, I also have the responsibility of training the students that are onboarded recently, called freshers, right? I take the freshers and I explain them the project requirements and technology side, the basics, and the code walkthrough, everything. I just sit with them and I train them to make them to share the project kind of, okay. And yes, I also conducted the workshops on these real-time tools. And yes, of course, I attended the colleges to train few people for a week and conduct the exam, and at the end, taking shortlisting the candidates to our organization. Yeah, this is a brief about me. The scope of this framework, we know, right? So, as I already told you, robot framework is completely written using Python. So, it's good to have the Python knowledge before we jump directly to robot framework. So, I just wanted to give you a few basics of Python and robot framework intro. So, here we will be discussing the body of a robot file. We should know like robot framework file saved with a dot. It has the extension of dot robot, and yeah, I will explain you the file architecture in the coming slides. And yes, then later we'll walk through example so that we'll understand the flow and we'll understand the body and architecture, everything, and the components of the robot framework will be discussed in the coming slides. When it comes to the course outline, so all these pointers will be discussed as a part of this training program. So we'll start with Python as we discussed in the previous slide. We'll just start with the Python introduction, variables, data structures, and here we practice few Pythons as well. So the biggest feature of this robot framework, right? We can plug in our Python code in our robot file as well. I think you understood, right? So we can have a Python file and we can use that Python file from our robot file itself. So this kind of extensibility is available with the robot framework. So we'll see that, right? Import statement, and after that we'll start with robot framework introduction. So there also you'll have variables, data types, and the components of robot file execution, how to execute the robot file, and there should be one run command, right, to run any framework. So that is here robot space file, and apart from that we'll be having the attributes, the CLI attributes, like if you want to do a dry run hyphen d dry run, right, and like that I'll show you the options to run a file, a robot file. So yes, for practicing purpose, I just want to give you practice sessions on Selenium using robot framework. So yeah, let me give you a brief on Selenium. Selenium is a framework that helps us to validate or test the GUI components, right? So yes, there are many ways to use the Selenium. You can use Java, Python, and this robot framework is another way of using Selenium framework, right? So the main reason why to choose robot framework for Selenium is, right, this robot framework has everything ready for us. So so we don't need to worry about if you feel that you are weak and you are not much interested in coding, Robot Framework really helps you because it has everything written for us. All we need to know is we need to point out a particular library and the function. For that as well, it has a great documentation. So if we just, I'll go to, I will take you to the documentation where it gives the knowledge on which package is used for what and what all the functions inside each package. So everything will be discussed here. And yes, robot framework libraries. So libraries are the common things. So which are the mandatory things that we can see in every programming languages. So similarly, we have these libraries in robot framework as well. So yeah, we'll do some practice here with the libraries. And then next we have these components called setup, tear down, global variables, root variables. I'll explain you in detail when we come to the coding part. A setup is something like I'll explain that. Better I can explain that using the code in the coming slides. And the last pointer is practicing and for interview questions. So yeah, once everything is covered, we can have the practicing sessions. We can go through one project, real-time project, and then later we can have a mock interview. We can I'll be helping you with the interview questions and most commonly asked questions, and then we can have a mock interview. And yeah, we'll be having the feedback session and brushing up the weaker points and everything. We can cover this add-on points. So yes, instead of just teaching the Python basics, I prefer to have each and every student this OOPS concept knowledge, because OOPS are very common in most of the programming languages like Java, C++, Python, right? But robot framework doesn't support the OOPS. If you want to use robot framework, if you want to use OOPS concept with robot framework, you must use the OOPS concept in Python and use that Python file in robot framework. So that's how you can implement these OOPS concept in robot framework. And yes, robot framework packages. It has many packages called collections, SSH libraries, Selenium tool, right? There are many things. So let's not restrict to explore a single library. We can go through multiple libraries that will be heavily used in real time. And file handling and exceptions. So right in real time, we'll get the huge requirement of handling a file like creating, reading, editing, right? And even exceptions. Exceptions, we all this is one also a common concept across the programming languages. So you will get to know these things here. So additional course resources, what you will get in addition is the recorded videos of all sessions will be provided, and support to build a potential resume. So I'll be helping you to restructure your resume that can grab the recruiter's eye, and clarification Q&A session we can have to discuss your queries or doubts, right? And yes, the technical documents, the blogs, or right, the articles, links I will be sharing. So that helps you to even explore you a step higher. That keeps you a step higher than usual. So that clarifies and that gives the extra knowledge. Projects. So at the once the mentioned concepts are done, yes, we'll put our hands on creating a project. So here we'll do one GUI testing project using robot framework. So nothing but like logging to one website and doing some performing some operations there, and validating the UI component, and yes, declaring the results. So these things we can do using robot framework and Python as a part of our project for this program. The lab setup. So it is required to have a laptop or desktop with these following configurations. So it must be at least Windows 7 or above, and 500 GB hard disk and memory of 16 GB RAM, and 4 core CPU is mandatory. So it is good to have these things, uh, so that it will not make you wait for the longer time of interviews. As I already said, once everything is done, your resume is built, so we can be having the mock interviews in the real time format. So yeah, I'll be training you to attend the interviews, and then I will take the interviews, and once the interviews are done, I can give you one-to-one feedback that helps you to enhance your weaker zones, and that makes you to work on your weaker points, so that you can correct and rectify the mistakes that you committed in the mock interviews, and yeah, that helps you for your real-time interviews. At the end, we'll be giving the course completion certificate from MindMajix. As I told you, right, I will make you to walk through a code, a real-time code, so that your understanding will be much better. So, so I used PyCharm for as our IDE to write our robot framework. So in this course, I will explain you how to install the PyCharm and how to install the required robot framework packages. Right? You see here, I already installed few packages. Right? If you see here, I installed robot framework Selenium 2 library. So the same I used here. So it must be installed first, then we should use in our program. Otherwise, it will throw us error. It would say Selenium 2 library doesn't found. So once that is done, yes, uh, you can create a new project. And under the project, I just created one file called robot file. When you just select robot file, it will give you the robot file in the robot format. Let me just create another file and new file. And here you can see robot file. Just hit enter. Yeah, see, it is giving the entire body of the robot file. Right? Robot file. So yes, you can be getting these doubts like what is settings for, what is test cases, and keywords and everything, right? So let me take you to the example that I have. So settings is right. Every section is separated by using these kind of strings like 3 stars and middle name and another 3 stars. So that is the heading for that session. So when you make it settings, right, so this entire part comes under setting. So this is the place where you can import. In Python we use import, right? Like similarly in C we use hash include, right? So similarly in our robot framework we use library and library name, right? So I already shown you, like I just installed Selenium 2 library, so I'm free to use this library here. So I just mentioned Selenium 2 library and test tear down. I'll speak more on this later. After that, variables. So what all the variables you mention here under this variable session are to be declared as global variable. So these variables have the access for all the functions inside this file. And test cases. Test cases is the place where the actual thing gets started to run. So here, this is our test case name, login Facebook, right? Uh, better better login Quora. Login Quora is our test case name. So this is of user choice. You can give any name to this. And the very next line, in 12th line, this is a keyword. So initially it starts with test case name, and inside each test case is it's a collection of different keywords. So this one is a keyword, this one is another keyword. So open Facebook with Chrome is our first keyword. If you see this one, this is kind of we are calling its function. And if you ask me where is its implementation, it is here under keywords. So we should call this one as a keyword since we implement that keyword under this keyword session, right? So when the control comes here, open Facebook with Chrome, it will be the control will come here and do this piece of execution here, right? So let us follow the flow. So yeah, it is coming here, login Quora, and then it is calling this keyword, open Facebook with, so open Quora with Facebook. So this also must be same, otherwise it will not take. So yeah, when the control comes here, it will jump here. So here what it is doing, this is a keyword. Open browser is a keyword. If you see here, you can see the all the options it has. So open browser is a keyword in Selenium library. So if you don't import, if you don't do this library, Selenium 2 library, then you will not be able to use open browser. So you must import that one before you use open browser. So what does it do? It is opening one browser and it takes us to this website, quora.com. And here you should mention which browser you should use, Firefox or Chrome, right? Yes. So in this first line, what we are doing, open browser is a built-in keyword. It is not a user-defined one. This is a user-defined one. This is user-defined one, but this one is not a user-defined one. This one is a built-in. That's why when you keep your cursor here, you can see all these options. If I do the same here on the user-defined functions, you will not see anything, right? So when you keep it here, so yeah, as I said, open browser opens one window for you, and it takes you to the website that you are passing as the first argument, and it opens the browser that you mentioned as the second parameter. So after that, I'm just sleeping for 3 seconds. So yes, once this function is done, once this keyword is done, the control goes back here, login Facebook, right? We should make it login. So it will come here. What it is doing here? Input text. Input text is again a built-in. It's a built-in keyword. If you keep your cursor here, you can see these things, right? So it is a built-in thing. What we are doing when you open this one, right? Quora.com. Let me show you in manual once what we are going to automate. Once you are bought here, um, it is asking you to enter your email, password, click login, right? So these actions we are doing using Selenium, using robot frame. So if you see here input text is a keyword, built-in keyword that helps you to add some matter to a specified field. If you see here, we mark here as email, right? So what is this email? Let me show you. Email is actually ID for this field. This is the field, right, where we need to enter our email address. So yeah, this is the field. Here we need to give our email ID. Let me show you why we put email there. So this is the one. And if you see here, id is email. Id is email. So so we have given email here, and this dollar email is a variable. You see here, we under the variable session, we have one variable called email. There I have given my email. So where during the execution time, it replace this variable with @gmail.com. It does the same operation of the variable does. And after that, input password. So if you see on the UI, the second thing we need to mention here is password, right? If you see password, if you inspect the password, you can see here its ID is password. That's why we keep in our code as well, it is password. And the variable name. So here in the variable name, we save our password, right? Yeah. So what we have done so far, we have given our email ID, we have given our password. Then only thing left is just to hit this login button, right? So yes, to do that, let me inspect login button. So I have taken the XPath for that button, which is this one. I'm just copying it from here just to make sure you understand that I have taken it from here. That part is highlighted. So this one is targeting to this button. So I took this one and keep it in our code. And yes, click button, input password, input text, all these are built-in keywords. What we just did here is we are just passing the arguments to it. These are the references, XPaths, and this one is the variable what to enter in that field. And for click button, we have only one argument, that is the link of that button, right? Because in button we don't write anything. It is a clickable element, so only one element is enough. whereas for input text or input password, it requires the user input. That's why it has two inputs. And the last validation, wait until the page contains add question, right? This is again a built-in keyword, wait until page contains, because what happens here is when you click the login button, it should allow you to enter to you, it should allow you uh, to navigate you to the home page, right? So there you can see this add question. So how I am validating, if the login is successful, we should see this add question on the screen. Let me just do it in manual selection. So here I am giving my, so yes, when I click login, so yes, I got my home page and add question button. So my process of validating is, if the login is successfully happened, I must see this add question on the screen. That's how I validated this test case. So after clicking the button, I must see add question. If I don't see it, then I mark this test case as fail. Right? If I see this one, it will be passed. I hope you understood this flow. Yes, we left one thing, this test teardown. Test teardown is something that happens. Let us say in the middle of this test case execution, it got failed, and the opened Chrome window is left open, right? But our target is we should not keep it open if it is failed. So what we are doing here, if the program gets failed or at the end of this program, we should close the browser. So these kind of things we can keep it under test tear down, so that at the end of this execution it will execute test tear down, or if even if it fails to execute, it will close the browser that has been opened, right? So yeah, let's just run one time. Yeah, this is the run command, robot space filename.robot. Let's see what happens when we our first test case, as I told you, right? Log into Quora. That is the first test case. So that is executing. It is at Quora.com. It is entering email and password and clicking login. And yes, we are at home page and it is checking for add question tab. So since it is found, it passed our test case. Let us say, let's make this test case to be failed. Instead of add question, I'll add some a random string. So what I'm saying, so once the login is happened, the screen should has this string, right? If it doesn't have, it will fail. We know it is a random string; it will not be appeared on the screen. So ideally, this test case should be failed. Let's test. Now just let's run our test case with this expected failure thing. Yes, it is failed because didn't find the string on the web page anyway. Because what is our keyword, wait until page contains. By default it will wait for, I think here we can see, by default it will wait for 10 seconds. So within 10 seconds, if it didn't find this string, target string, it will mark our test case as fail. So yeah, that is the difference. So in the first example, we see with the positive scenario. Now we make the test case to be failed. I'm just reverting the changes. So yes, this is how we write the test cases. So here we have only one test case. Let me add one more test case here. I'll give the test case name as it is. The test case name is of user choice. I'll do print by name, right? And here I'll write my keyword, user defined keyword. What it will be? So we need to implement this keyword under this keyword session. Let's do that. So here what I do, just talk to and now if I just okay, now we have two test cases in our file. I just want to run only one test case, right? How can we do that? We can select the test case means by using tags. We have one entity here called tags. What does it do? It's kind of filtering things. If you have multiple test cases inside the file and you are targeting to run only few things, so you can tag that. So here I'll tag this one as one, this one is two, right? Now I just want to run the second test case, which is print my name. So that if you just run this entire file, it will execute both the test cases. But I want to run only one test case, and it has its own tag name. So I'll give hyphen I executed only one test case, which is print my name, right? So it skipped this one, login to Quora. So it is just printed the message that I wrote here, what it is. Hey, it's me, that is printed on console. And one more main thing is robot framework gives you uh, standard report. You can see it on Google itself. So if you see here, right, log.html, this is a built-in feature of robot framework. At the end of the execution, it gives one HTML log that is highly readable. So yes, if you see here, since I have only one test case, print my name is here. So this is our keyword name, and what we are doing here, hey it's me. We are just printing hey it's me, and at the end we are closing the browser, which is our tear down. Whatever we wrote here, right? Tear down, test tear down. That is executing at the end. So we are closing the browser. So yeah, I think that's all I have for now. I hope you understood this demo session, and you'll be highly uh, interested to learn the entire training program. Thanks for attending the demo. Please share your feedback and contact us for queries related to course scope, schedule, references, cost, and any payment related options. And you must be seeing the email ID and contact numbers on the screen.